Let me take you back to the ancient courts of power, where one wrong word, one raised eyebrow, one misplaced joke could spell the end of a promising career, or even a life. In the shadows of marble columns and gold-plated thrones, you would see men and women tread lightly, measuring their words, watching their steps, playing a game that was far more than chess, it was survival. Because in those rooms of power, it wasn't just about being clever or bold or ambitious. It was about knowing people. Reading people. Understanding who you were dealing with. Now fast forward to today. The world has changed, yes. Thrones have turned into boardrooms. Kings into CEOs. Courtiers into colleagues. But the game? The game is still the same. Power still dances in the background. And if you're not careful, if you misread the person in front of you, if you underestimate the quiet one, if you joke with the wrong guy, challenge the wrong ego, offend the wrong heart, you won't just lose influence. You might lose everything. This is Law 19, know who you're dealing with. Do not offend the wrong person. It sounds simple, doesn't it? Obvious, even. But that's the trap. This law is so easy to ignore. So easy to forget. Because we live in a culture that glorifies boldness. Applauds confrontation. Tells you to speak your mind, be fearless, be real. But real power, real influence, comes not from shouting the loudest or always keeping it 100. It comes from knowing the terrain before you march into it. It comes from being able to look at a person and know, without them saying a word, how they will respond, what they value, what will wound them, and what will win them. You see, not all enemies are the same. Not all rivals are created equal. Some people, when offended, will flare up, yell, fight, and forget. Others will go silent. Smile. Shake your hand. Then spend the next 5 years quietly dismantling your name. Your work. Your life. And by the time you realize what happened, it's too late. They never forgot. They just played the long game better than you did. There's a story about a man named Michael Ovitz, one of the most powerful agents in Hollywood in the 1980s and 90s. Brilliant. Strategic. Feared. But he made a critical error. He thought he could play hardball with Jeffrey Katzenberg, another titan, known for being sharp, aggressive, and extremely vengeful. Ovitz underestimated him. Made a deal that looked good on the surface but quietly humiliated Katzenberg. Years later, Katzenberg got his revenge, not with fists or shouting, but by slowly chipping away at Ovitz's empire. A few meetings here, a few phone calls there. And the once invincible Ovitz? Eventually forced out, his influence scattered. That's Law 19 in action. So why do we ignore this law? Why do smart people fall into this trap? Because we're emotional. Because we're human. We get confident. We get cocky. We mistake someone's quietness for weakness. We assume our charm can get us out of anything. We forget that people are not just logic and reason, they're pride, insecurity, vanity, history, trauma. And when you offend the wrong part of a person, you don't just start a fight, you ignite a vendetta. Look around you. Look at your team. Your coworkers. Your family. Your clients. Your audience. Every one of them is a universe. A map of emotions, experiences, beliefs, and limits. Your job, if you want power, if you want influence, is not just to talk, it's to listen. Observe. Study. One man might laugh at a joke. Another might never forgive you for it. One woman might shrug off your criticism. Another might quietly vow to ruin your reputation. It's not about being afraid. It's about being aware. Awareness is power. And arrogance is poison. I remember hearing a story about a rising executive. Young, hungry, brilliant. He had a meeting with a senior board member, a man known to be a bit old-fashioned, proud of his accomplishments, not quick to change. The executive, full of ideas, challenged the older man's entire approach to business in front of the room. Called it outdated, inefficient. Even used humor to poke fun at the past. The room was silent. The older man said nothing. He smiled, nodded, left the meeting. Weeks passed. Then months. The executive began to notice doors closing, projects drying up, invitations disappearing. A promotion that seemed guaranteed, given to someone else. He never saw the knife, but he felt the bleeding. You don't have to be fake, but you do have to be strategic. Knowing who you're dealing with doesn't mean becoming a chameleon with no values. It means understanding the battlefield before you make a move. It means asking yourself, what does this person value? What do they fear? What offends them? What fuels them? There's a reason Sun Tzu said, if you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. But if you know only yourself and not the enemy, you will lose. Robert Greene doesn't write about morality. He writes about power. And in the world of power, misreading someone isn't just rude, it's dangerous. Think of Steve Jobs. Brilliant. Visionary. But also known for having an ego the size of Apple headquarters. Now imagine walking into his office in the early years and telling him his ideas were bad, his vision flawed, his product boring. Do you think he would invite you back to brainstorm the next iPhone? No. He would crush you. And he wouldn't need to raise his voice to do it. Power isn't always loud. It's quiet. It's patient. It waits. So what should you do? First, study people. Everyone gives off signals. Everyone tells you, subtly or obviously, how they expect to be treated. How they view power. How they handle confrontation. Use that information. Second, adjust, don't betray. Adapt your delivery, not your values. You can speak truth and still respect the receiver. You can challenge someone without humiliating them. Power isn't about dominance, it's about influence. Third, respect pride. Pride is one of the most explosive forces in the human psyche. Offend someone's pride, and logic goes out the window. They won't care if you're right. They'll only care that you made them feel small. And people will burn bridges, businesses, and entire futures just to feel big again. Fourth, watch the quiet ones. The loud ones tell you everything. They're easy to read. But the quiet ones? They're the ones to watch. Because still waters run deep. And sometimes the most dangerous enemy is the one who smiles the widest. Fifth, when in doubt, be gracious. Not weak. Gracious. It costs you nothing to treat someone with respect. But the cost of disrespect? That bill always comes due. Let me give you one final story. A true one. A cautionary one. A young politician rises through the ranks. Charismatic. Bold. Confident. He mocks an older senator on national television. Calls him irrelevant. Dismisses him as yesterday's news. The crowd laughs. The internet cheers. But that older senator? He didn't laugh. He didn't tweet back. He just picked up the phone. Made a few calls. And behind the scenes, he began to block every bill, every advancement, every pathway that young politician needed. The rise stopped. The applause faded. Because he had offended the wrong person. That's the game. Now let me be clear, this law is not about fear. It's not about paranoia. It's about awareness. Strategic empathy. Emotional intelligence. And it's about this truth, not everyone forgives. Not everyone forgets. Not everyone fights fair. And not everyone shows their hand. So know who you're dealing with. Before you speak. Before you challenge. Before you criticize. Before you play. Because the game of power is long. And the players? They remember. And the wrong enemy? They don't just fight you. They erase you. So play smart. Stay sharp. Move carefully. Power belongs not to the loudest voice, but to the wisest listener. Thank you.